The Danger in the Deep special order request was very difficult, but I did manage to complete it in time. The Danger in the Deep challenge resets the regular mine, so you have to start from level 1 all over again, but filled with new enemies and challenges. When you complete it, you'll be rewarded with 50 key coins, which is quite a lot, so doing this challenge is definitely worth it. If you have already tried it, which part did you struggle with most? Let me know in the comments down below and subscribe if you are new to my channel. Alrighty, let's get started. The first 15 floors in the Dangerous Mines isn't that tough. It mostly consists of quite small rooms with some slimes with sunglasses. Pretty cool slimes. At least they won't really get in your way. Just smack them a few times and hit the rocks. You should get through the first 15 levels pretty easily. Don't let these easy levels fool you though. It gets much more difficult. And I was pretty worried that I won't make it to floor 120 in 7 days. So definitely come prepared. Bring plenty of food, and if you can, bring bombs. They just help out a lot. I bought a ton of bombs at the dwarf next to the mine. It is pretty expensive, but it was well worth it. Next up are floors 16 to 30. This is where it starts getting a little bit interesting. Basically, it's exactly the same as the previous 15 floors, with just one difference. A new enemy is introduced, this blue squid licking thing. Their movement is pretty simple. They shoot forward a bit in the direction of the player. Then they kind of pause while they rest for energy. Naturally, if they touch you, you take damage. But they also apply a weakness debuff that reduces your total damage output by a lot. Now, 1 or 2 of them aren't that bad, but when there are many of them coming at you in all directions, suddenly you're surrounded by these squids. And you have to worry about the slimes. And if you only focus on the squids getting deeper in the mines, it's going to take forever, and you might not even make it to floor 120 in time. Unfortunately, they overwhelmed me and I died in floor 23. This is when I realized that I need to take this more seriously because I just lost an entire day. Coming back the next day, I was better prepared for them and managed to get through this horrible part. At least the next 10 floors are a little bit easier. Floor 31 to 40 is much easier than the previous stages. It's more or less like the regular mines, just darker. These floors were a breeze as there weren't many enemies, and there aren't any new enemies that you need to worry about. But trust me, these 10 levels are a much needed break. The previous stages were really tough, and the next stage is really tough. The next 30 levels are, in my opinion, the most difficult floors in the entire mine. I don't think this challenge is possible without a galaxy sword and an iridium pickaxe. The enemies have tons of health, and the iridium pickaxe can mine most rocks in one hit. Floor 41 to 70 has a jungle theme. It starts off looking really cool. It has a nice atmosphere, and you can get hardwood on these levels, which is pretty cool. Maybe you can actually farm hardwood on these floors. Some of the new enemies on these floors include these mushroom-looking guys. They hop around, but are actually very easy to take out. You can stun lock them against the wall like slimes, but there are usually many of them, so be careful. If they all hit you at once, you can get one-shotted pretty easily. There are also these worm guys that if you don't kill them, they turn into cave flies. Nothing special. They are the same as the normal ones, they just have more health and do more damage. You shouldn't struggle too much on the first 10 levels. Now, floor 51 to 70 is insane. It is so much more difficult. It has the same jungle theme, but it's dark and covered in spider webs that slow you when you walk into them. And with spider webs, of course, there are spiders. There are so many spiders, and they are jumping spiders. They will jump in your direction and you cannot damage them while they are in the air. You will have to wait for them to land before you can damage them, which is so annoying, especially when there are many spiders and they kind of swarm you. There's also stick bugs on these floors. I never saw one because I didn't bring an axe with me, so I could not hit any of the pieces of wood laying around. The thing that makes this floor hard is the sheer number of enemies. There are many spiders and many mushroom guys. If only bombs did more damage to them. But it gets worse. There's an enemy worse than anything we've seen so far. The Toxic Ghost. The Toxic Ghost is just as annoying to take out as the regular ghost. They have tons of health and get knocked back when you hit them. But these toxic ghosts have a dash attack and can catch you by surprise. But that isn't what makes them difficult to handle. If they do hit you, which they probably will, they will apply a debuff on you called the nauseated debuff. This debuff will prevent you from eating or drinking anything, effectively meaning that you cannot heal. Healing is vital to getting through these levels because there are so many enemies jumping at you and you will take damage. And the debuff lasts for 2 whole minutes. Those 2 minutes feel like forever. But there's a way to cure this curse. You can eat ginger to remove this debuff and go back to healing. Now, I didn't know that at the time, and I wish I did. I lost all of my health and had the debuff, so I quickly left the mine and waited at the elevator for the debuff to end so I could heal and re-enter the mine. Eating some ginger would have been so much easier. Don't make my mistake. Bring some ginger into the mine. Another tip I can give you, floor 60 to 70 is really tough, so take your time and you will get through it. If you try and rush like I did, it's gonna be a tough time. The upcoming floors aren't as tough. Floors 71 to 80 are the ice floors. They have haunted skulls from the quarry mine, which aren't too tough. Just give them a smack and you'll be alright. You will also find powered up skeletons, which don't put up much of a fight. There are also skeleton mages. If the skeleton mage hits you with their range attack, you will get the frozen debuff that will reduce your speed by 8. That is a huge slowdown, and you might even feel completely stunned. At least it only lasts for 2 seconds. Usually I just rush at them and stun lock them so they can't really attack back. All in all, these floors aren't that hard and you should get through them without much difficulty. Next up is floor 81 to 120. We are almost there. These are the crimson floors. Unfortunately, the next 40 floors are exactly the same, but we had so much variety on the earlier floors, so it's not that bad. You can pretty easily get from floor 80 to 120 in a single day, as the only thing holding you back here is time and a bunch of enemies. Some of the enemies in here we have already met, but they are all much stronger. Do you remember these crabs that look like rocks? On these floors they look like gold ore and they are really tanky, but they're not that tough to take out, so don't worry. There are also metalheads. They look like those enemies in Mario Brother and they aren't that much of an issue either. The dangerous version of the Shadow Brute is where it gets interesting. They're very similar to the regular versions. Instead, they run really fast at you, have plenty of health, and are completely immune to knockback. So you can't just whack them with your sword because they will just walk into you and damage you by quite a bit. You will have to hit them and back up until they are defeated. Next up is the beefed up Shadow Shaman. They weren't hard in the regular mines and they aren't hard here either. Nothing to worry about here. Their special move is healing, but if you stun lock them with your weapon, they can't heal, so just take them out when you see them. The Shadow Sniper is a new enemy in these new dangerous mines. They're kind of annoying because they shoot at you from range, and when they hit you, you get a darkness debuff. This debuff will make your entire screen almost completely black, and you won't be able to see anything. Even a glow ring doesn't help much. At least they can only shoot straight, either horizontally or vertically. So approach them at an angle and you should be able to dodge them without much problem. And lastly, the Squid Kit. This is the last new enemy you will meet in the new dangerous mines. They only have 250 health, so with a galaxy sword they can be taken out pretty easily. The only problem is they shoot multiple fireballs at you that will bounce off the walls and do tons of damage. Apparently you can hit the fireballs with your sword, but I never tried that for some reason. For the floors 80 to 120, just kill the enemies and use plenty of bombs to destroy the rocks. I don't often kill all the enemies because it takes too much time, so sometimes I'll be running around a floor dropping bombs and jumping to the next floor as soon as I see a ladder. I'm not sure how effective this is, but it worked out for me. I was also pretty worried that I wouldn't make it in time for the challenge since you only get 7 days to complete it, so I took plenty of damage from bombs that should have been avoided. After the long journey of reaching floor 120, you will have completed the Danger and the Deep Special Order request. This was a pretty tough journey, and I can't imagine how difficult the Skull Cavern challenges are. After completing this challenge, you can go back to floor 120 in the regular mines to allow the dangerous monsters to reappear in the mines if you ever wanted to come back to this nightmare. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really enjoyed this challenge, and as always, I will see you in the next video.